I will stand for invocation. Cannon, Duncan, you want us?
Yeah.
It is.
Dear Lord, we come before you and we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for letting us all gather here safely, and we ask that you would keep us safe, protect us, lead and guide and direct us. Let's make good decisions. Lord, I thank you for each and every person here, and I thank you for this nation. We give you all the glory and honor and ask everything in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, Shelley.
Yes, sir. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Jeff Smith.
Here.
Keith Austin.
I'm here.
Harley Buzzard. Joe Bird.
On in.
Juliet Coates. Sean Crittenden.
On
Joe Deere.
Aye.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Katie Duncan.
On in.
Darrell Legg.
Here.
Wes Snowfire. Dora Petzkowski.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw.
Honey.
Denise Taylor. Here. Victoria West. We have a quorum.
Need to make a motion for approval of minutes.
Second.
Kind of scary, isn't it?
Are we beating people in there?
I watched it, I'm like,
Landed on the wheel. All right, we got approval of minutes. Reports, Mr. Moore.
Good morning, how are y'all doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope y'all have our reports, I'll try to answer any questions that I can. We're still kind of on limited manpower, but we're trying, and doing a lot of sanitizing too. So,
Anybody got any questions?
David, could you tell me if there are any special filters that we're using on because of the COVID-19?
we looked into it, but we can't use HEPA filters in our system, it just won't work. We're looking at ultraviolet right now, trying to get a proposal, put that in line in the ducts. And other than that, we're just changing them out more frequently. We got the highest MERV rated filter we can run through the system.
Okay. Tell us about the disinfectants. Are you all coming through and disinfecting weekly?
No.
Monthly?
Daily.
Daily.
It's daily at night. I won't say 24/7, we're pretty close. We're doing testing also, and if we find a positive test, we go treat it right then. We have two chemicals we're using. One of them's a Clorox chemical, and the other one's an acid, a real mild acid. And both of them are working on the positive test, so we feel comfortable with that. It's a lot of, we need to do a little retraining on, well, I say retraining. We need to get a lot of people to help out in their own offices and stuff, because once we sanitize it, as soon as somebody comes in and touches something, it's, contaminate it. So it's hard to just constantly wipe down somebody's office. So hopefully, and we've given them, the tools to do it with, so hopefully they'll kind of get used to that as they come back.
David, when you all get a positive, or are notified that there was a positive test in a certain location, tell me, is there special precautions on the people who go in and treat this? I mean, hazmat suits
We
or
wear
what?
PPE. No, they wear gloves, masks, and eyeglasses, or safety glasses. The chemical kills it. They don't scrub it or anything like that. They just literally walk in and spray it. One of them is electrostatic and kind of engulfs things. The other one's just a liquid. We get a real fine mist, and we just soak things down and let it dry. And that's how it's killed. And then they can clean afterwards.
Do we need to take some type of precaution for those people who are responding to these positive tests and locations to where they're tested on a regular basis?
I can't, they're not, to my knowledge, tested on a regular basis. I mean, I talk to them, I'm around them all the time. They're all pretty aware of very aware of it. And if they get to feeling bad, they'll go get tested. which, that might not be a bad idea to test them once a week or something like that, but they take their proper precautions. I mean, I don't want to say they're not afraid of it, because, I mean, it is bad, but they take their proper precautions and just do their job. I mean, they understand what they're doing.
You know, that might be a question you might want to consider submitting to the task force headed by Chief of Staff Inlow.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
David, how are we handling the construction that's going ongoing right now? Do we have anybody monitoring those signs, or do they have their own safety officer? And are those people tested, wearing masks, or?
A little bit of everything. They are wearing masks. They're mandated. Actually, they kind of pushed it even further to everybody wears them, even outside. They are checking temperatures. They have a protocol they send in that they will follow. And so far, they're doing pretty good on it. And that was the reason I did it everywhere with a mask, because too many people were, well, I'm outside. Well, you just walk inside, you don't have one on. So they pretty much said to everybody, wears masks wherever they're at. So, but if we got an elevated temperature, they send them on. Either tell them to go get tested or go home.
What about, I know hay season here for us. Are we doing that?
Yeah, and it's tough because like I said, we're at a limited staff, but the guys that are here, they're out there every day they can, in the hayfield.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I have a question. David, do we have adequate space if we order additional supplies to store, like masks? We have our school systems that are not going to be able to provide adequately. We may be asked to assist, and even ourselves, because it looks like until there's a vaccine, this thing is not going away.
I agree. Yes.
Now, do we have inroads to people, contacts that we can order additional masks for storage? And do we have storage like the Woodmark building?
Well, we've taken over, not taken over, we use about 80% of the recycle right now for masks and stuff.
Okay.
PPE and the chemicals that were usually sanitized, because the supply chain's kind of iffy right now. You just never know. So you got to get it when you can.
Yes.
But it's almost full. But more than likely, we would be able to use Woodmark.
Okay.
I know that the new clinic and the hospital, I think they're storing some stuff over there.
Well, we have to spend this COVID money by December, so I was thinking we might just, store and be ready in the fall.
We're we've got a lot of masks stored up, and they haven't quit ordering them either. They're trying to get their hands on sanitizing products, and we just ordered another brand Friday, I think.
Okay.
Trying to get our hands on more of it. Because we got enough to open up, it's easy.
Okay.
We just got to have enough to sustain our openings.
Sure.
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, last question. Councilor Jordan and I met with the fire department here, and we invested for it looked like it's some quarantine equipment there, and we invested quite a bit. Now they weren't wanting to do it out of their area. They're wanting the Cherokee Nation to take that equipment and use it here. Did we ever get consulted on that?
I don't know what kind of equipment you're talking about.
Councilor Jordan, you want to explain what that was?
From the fire department?
Yes. The fire departments are.
Or-
Yeah, here at Tahlequah there on Water Street.
I haven't spoken to anybody at the fire department.
It was actually the county.
Oh, yeah. County, yes, we're working with them.
Okay, did they contact us because they were not for sure they wanted to administer this. They were wanting to know if we would take it, we administer it. Now,
They've contacted chief of staff, and what you're referring to?
Yes.
We actually have two of them ordered ourselves.
so we have that already.
We don't have them in-house yet, but the company that we're getting them from, they're supplying us with all the acid that we need right now.
Okay,
until our machines come in.
okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Shambaugh?
This is something I think is very important. And it's probably never been asked, but I'm gonna ask it. Where do these masks come from? Who manufactures these masks?
I have not looked at that. I don't order them.
Well, I
haven't read them, so I don't
Okay,
know.
something kind of dear to my heart. I really would like to buy from within our country, the companies within the United States. And a lot of these, I've seen on a box who makes these masks, and I would just prefer that Cherokee Nation doesn't buy anything from them. We need to support America. We need to buy American masks. And that's something that needs to be looked into.
Poison these things.
More than likely, they got everything they could from the United States. You know, the government locked down a lot of that, buying masks, so I'm not purchasing, I just go pick them up.
Well, I got an email from an American company who makes these masks, if you want me to forward it to you.
You can, and I'll forward it on. Like I said, I'm not over purchasing, I just,
Okay, right. Well, I think it's important that we buy from our country.
definitely.
If I could add, sorry. Chief of Staff is in charge of ordering the masks, and we do primarily base those in this country. As far as I know, there aren't any outside purchases that have been made yet.
There's some,
Are there
because
some?
I delivered to fire departments and where they're made is put
Their
on
packaging
there.
says it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't handle that, but Chief of Staff does. He can take that email and
Here he comes.
Here it comes.
We just pointed the finger so long.
Yep, that's right.
Want some mask? I walked in and I heard a question about buying American-made masks.
Yes, I saw made in a different country masks on some that I delivered to fire departments.
Yeah, so initially when there was such a run and we were trying to acquire that, we did seek resources from where we could get it, which meant that some were sourced from other countries. We have purchased some for employees that are washable up to 6 months that are made in the USA. We're testing those out now. We are also looking at some other US-made options. And then as I indicated, either last meeting or the meeting before that, we are in steps right now to acquire machines that we actually produce our own surgical mask and N95s.
Well, that'd be awesome. But in the meantime,
it will not only be made in the USA, it'll be made in the Cherokee Nation.
that'd be even
That'd be
better.
great.
All right,
Yep.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Got that other good mic down here.
Thank you, Chair. David, do we have any touchless thermometers that, like our smaller community organizations could have access to?
We do, and I'm pretty sure they've already kind of been doing that, haven't they?
Yeah, we've sent some touchless or not the fully infrared cameras like we have here. Those units are about $5,000 a piece. We have some smaller units that are one-off, one individual at a time only, and you have to stand there for about 3 to 5 seconds. Those are about $2,000 a piece. We do have the infrared guns that are touchless in some of our smaller satellite offices, and we've been trying to get those out to our community buildings. And then just recently, we started acquiring some temple-based thermometers for elders. So elders, if they don't have access to thermometers, we'll put together a care package to send out to the elders in our communities so that they can monitor their temperature on their own.
Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else?
Do we have, and you may not know this, but Chief of Staff may, do we have like a list of tarot vendors who are starting to make cleaning supplies, or do we have a list of people who are working on trying to provide COVID response material that are one of our tarot vendors, so that way we can send them to everybody else and say, hey, listen, we're trying to work together with Cherokee companies. Here's a Cherokee company that produces some product that you might be interested in.
That's where we look first.
Okay.
I mean, we do, we really do. I mean, we want to.
Okay, I've got a company they called. The reason why I asked, I got a company that called and said that they didn't see that their name was on the email out. They thought they had gotten it to everybody, and I was just going to make sure that we had it going and that I would forward it to you guys.
A lot of these chemicals that some of these companies are putting out there, I'm just gonna, I don't want our people using it.
Right, no, I
I mean, that's the
agree.
first thing I look at is your hazard
What's in it?
list on it.
Right,
I don't want our people spraying something that's bad for them.
Right.
That's another thing. We actually have one spray that doesn't even require PPE at all. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking for as environmentally friendly as we
Right.
can. So that limits a lot of that also.
okay,
But
okay. Well, I'll send over the contact just in case there's miscommunication. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Deere?
Hey, I know you're talking about the mask and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff is here. But talking about the Tulsa area and Tulsa Public Schools, Owasso, and those surrounding areas, they calculated throughout the school year, just one district was around 249,000 square masks. Have you looked at that on purchasing that much, or do you guys know the amount you're wanting to purchase?
I can tell you, she has a good number of what she has right now, and I think we're still buying everything we can buy almost as far as
Yes,
masks.
so far we've acquired about 1 million surgical masks. This is all in addition to what the health services team has at their disposal for patients as well as employees, contractors that implement the facilities. So this is over and above. This is for general public use for employee use. So we purchased 1 million surgical masks. We purchased 100,000 well, almost 100,000, about 90,000, 90 or 95,000 N95 masks that we purchased. We've also acquired, through donation from FEMA, a cloth-based mask. I'm looking to see if anybody's got one of those on, and I don't see any, but it's a multiply fabric-based mask. I've tried this one on from C&D. This is what they're supplying to their employees. So we're trying to find comfortable options that are washable and reusable and provide some layer of protection for employees as well as guests. So to answer your question about schools, we realize that schools are going to call us, and we're trying to be prepared for that. We have about 300,000 students inside the 107 school districts that we supply card tag money to. And if we're able to get something that's washable rather than disposable, we think that's the more logical option. So we're probably looking 2 to 3 per student. That way they have a washable mask. So we're making plans for that, not saying that that's what we're going to do, but we are making plans for that, and we've gotten some estimates together.
What it brought up was the different sizes, because they're starting with a pre-K and then going up, so those masks are gonna be different sizes we talked about before. And the second thing, I'll bring it up in real estate a while ago, are you looking at the facilities to store stuff there? Or is it gonna just have to come through Telequal then when we need it and go, because it's gonna be a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, our whole operation is we're trying to decentralize and push things out. So any of our cleaning supplies, we get them in here initially, but we distribute it back out.
So that leads to my question with the COVID money is real estate, which we'll get to that next. Are they looking at other options for buildings for quarantine to purchase in those farther out areas with the economy going down that are easy to purchase now versus the market value?
Yes.
Okay.
John?
Yeah. So what you're talking about with the schools, is that above 2,000 the school's gonna get, and that's above all that?
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at it, evaluating it, because we want to try to protect the students as best as we can. And not every school is going to be able to use those resources for PPE. You understand? Some will, some already have plans, some are actually getting masks already. So we realize some schools are not going to be able to.
What's the ballpark figure on those handheld?
On handhelds, they're about $80 to $90 a piece. The temple-based thermometers are running anywhere between $20 and $40 a piece. And which is the temple-based, you actually have to hold it to your contact your skin for a few seconds for it to read. But the infrared guns, you hold close, but you don't have to touch the skin.
Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you.
Little Buffalo are looking good up there, aren't they? They're
They
growing.
are. Yes, they are.
Yeah. All right. Ginger Reeves?
Turkey.
The hymn.
I'm trying.
Ginger, you're connected both on your PC and your phone, and you're getting the feedback. You may have to disconnect one of them.
Yeah, we can't mute it in there. Okay. That's better.
Much better.
Yes.
I think you're on recording. Yeah.
Probably the radio station.
I'll be back.
You have the written report.
Ginger, can you just hear from your phone? That'll work. We don't need your video feed.
Is it better?
No. Okay, bear with us for just a second. Do you want to go move on to someone else?
Yes, uh-huh.
Or you just want to see if we have questions maybe? And we can, however you want to do it. I just don't want to hold it up.
Does anyone have any questions?
We have a written report.
Okay,
So.
got our report.
Well, I'll have questions.
Okay. Here, let me see if I can get it.
Cancel codes.
Well, she said you got a question?
I will,
Okay.
if she's able to come back on.
So let's move on to Tom Elkins.
He's not here either.
Tom isn't able to join us today, but
I think I heard it.
Secretary Harsha is here. He should be online.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
we can hear you.
You got the floor.
Yeah, so, the report for Tom Elkins was previously submitted, and the standard information that we generally present. So if you have any specific questions on that, I can certainly take those.
Anyone got questions on that for Tom? All right. Guess we're up to you now.
Yeah, so it's been several months since I was able to present before the council, and I always appreciate the opportunity. First time ever by remotely, so I'll give it my best shot here. I think if you don't mind, I'd like to just run through a couple of things, the major items that we're working on, and then turn over to any questions that you might have. As part of the COVID-19 transition and response, we've been focusing on essential services that our programs can provide and support the COVID response efforts, and in particular, our environmental program staff have been, redirected to the testing and environmental assessment work around the complex in our various facilities in conjunction with the Chief of Staff's initiative. So I'm really proud of the work that they're doing, and they're certainly putting in a lot of hours and trying to get that done while also maintaining their current workload. So there's a lot of staff over there who've stepped up, and I think they've made a pretty significant difference. We've also been making sure that we are delivering our essential services, in particular our hunting and fishing licenses, seed bank requests. In regard to hunting and fishing licenses, we have a slight delay, maybe 2 days a week, of processing them, but we're still generally able to turn those over within 24 hours. We have received a pretty substantial uptick on requests during this COVID-19 response, with a lot of folks using fishing and hunting as social distancing type recreational activities, which we always encourage. Up to date, we've issued about 125,000 licenses for this calendar year. In regard to our seed bank requests, we always have a high demand for seed from all over the country and all over the world. We try to fill as many of those requests as we can on a first come, first served basis. Fortunately, we were able to get the vast majority of those out before COVID-19 impacts to operations. And to date, for the calendar year, we've sent out just a bit over 5,000 packages. So the demand is always increasing, and we're always doing our best to fill it and expand our garden operations as we go along. One other issue I wanted to raise is the national zinc settlement that I talked about at the last meeting that I was able to present at. At that time, we were trying to put together a final consent decree to be submitted to the court for approval and then published in the Federal Register notice, for public comment and notice. And we have completed that process. The court has approved that settlement, and we are now anticipating we're going to receive very shortly about $1.2 million for restoration of that facility in the Bartlesville area. So this is one of the first natural resource damage claims that we were able to achieve a settlement and a good result out of. And these cases take some time to marshal through the courts and the negotiation process and the hazard assessment process, but we've got that completed. Appreciate the work of environmental programs on seeing that through. It's been about a 7 to 8 year case, so it's a good outcome. It also sets a good precedent for the future cases that we have. We have 3 other additional sites that we're working on, and potentially a 4th coming online with a partnership with the state and the Cherokee Creek Nation here, possibly within the end of the calendar year. One other issue I'd like to raise is our EV infrastructure project. We've mentioned about expanding this program over the past year, and the vast majority of this funding that we've seen is coming through a federal grant, and then also our application to the Volkswagen Mitigation Trust, which is a court-ordered settlement as a result of the long-standing Volkswagen mitigation and carbon emissions issues that they've been dealing with. We advocated hard for a tribal component, specifically for the tribes as part of that settlement. And up to this point, we just have received just shy of $407 million, which is a substantial amount of money. Part of what we argued during that process was allocating this money based on tribal population and size, and naturally the Cherokee Nation checks a lot of those boxes, and it's been very favorable to us. So at this point, we're focusing on what the development's going to look like, getting the engineering work, and pursuing getting these projects on the ground. And I think we'll start seeing some serious movement on that by the end of this year. We've put in an order for 2 electric buses to supplement our transit system, which is going to be, these particular ones are going to travel between Siloam Springs and Stillwell, and Catoosa and Tahlequah. And so as part of that bus transaction, we're going to install infrastructure that allows that part of the transit system to run completely off of electric buses as opposed to the gas buses that we use now. I think we're also considering replacing one of the Sequoia buses with an electric option. Finding a bus that has the appropriate ranges is where it gets kind of tricky. So we're looking at investing in infrastructure all over the 14 counties. $4.5 million so far, and I anticipate quite a bit more coming. I think it's going to help us do that. We're definitely going to be leading the pack in EV infrastructure, tribes across the country, and possibly the whole state of Oklahoma. So we're really looking forward to that. Again, it's still in the design and conceptual phase, and we hope to report back when we have something a little bit more concrete to share. One other item that we've been working on is the first round of listings for the Historic Registry Act. I think that's an issue slated to be taken up at the next committee meeting here in just a bit, but proud of our Tribal Historic Preservation Office for the work they've done, getting all of that lined out and getting the first round of listings to the council. So with that, I have, that's the high points. We're still continuing on with all the projects and work that we normally do, and I can take any questions if you have any.
Have any questions? Mr. Deere?
Hey, Chad, I know Lizzie's been monitoring the race massacre and the findings, and recently in the last 3 days, they found some different stuff with the road. Is she keeping a report on that we can be updated on the findings on that area by Greenwood?
Absolutely. So our TIPO, Liz Toombs, has been engaged in this process since the outset. I mean, she's attended every one of the public meetings. She stays in contact with all of the folks that are coordinating that effort, and she issues reports to me generally, once a week, or in the case instantly, where they're doing excavation work daily about what they're finding and what the conversation is like. I know that they had submitted a request for monitors to support the work that's being done there, and we'd asked to be considered for that. I think they ultimately landed on the Cherokee Creek Nation. I would presume by reason of that being within their reservation boundaries, and the particular site where they're excavating is adjacent to a historic creek cemetery, so I think it made more sense for that particular project for them to select that individual. Now, that being said, we work very closely with all of our tribal partners in this area, and particularly on these instances in this case. And so I know our TIPO has been working daily with the Creek Nation TIPO on this project, and they've been sharing feedback and updating each other and working collaboratively to make sure that we're properly respecting the Cherokee and Muscogee Creek and tribal presence on that project in this area. So yeah, we're certainly engaged in that project and maintaining, updating daily in this case on this particular aspect of it, and making sure that we're a part of the conversation, helping move this on, move forward.
Yeah, so with that being said, can we get a summary or have her send me just a short email on the findings?
Yeah, not a problem at all. I can have the summaries that have been sent to me reduced down to something that's more a narrative form and have that sent to you.
Yeah, all right, appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Hi, Chad. Chad, do you know anything about the creek or whatever it is up there by the Methodist home in Tahlequah? Is that water okay up there for those kids to be around?
I think that, I think there have been some issues, and if it's the property that I'm understanding, there have been some lagoon issues in the past that they've had. I know that they've worked towards remediation of that site. I don't know what the status of that is. I know it's an ongoing issue and an ongoing project, but I can dig down more specifically as to what the action plan is, and I can get that to you by email.
Oh, thank you so much. And also, I've got a lot of at-large citizens that would sure like a temporary 2-day fishing pass if possible.
Absolutely, that's something we're still working on. And we have continued our conversations with the state on what a new hunting and fishing or extended hunting and fishing compact would look like. We've had some very productive conversations, and despite some of the tensions that are obvious and apparent with the state government and the tribes at the moment. This decision in McGirt has changed that conversation a little bit. We're still evaluating what that means, but we've been working as diligently as we can, and that is one of the fundamental goals, the primary goals, to make sure we expand access and privileges across the state and potentially at large out of state. But again, that's a difficult conversation for the state, a difficult concept for the state to embrace, but we're having those conversations and they've been productive. And I'll keep you posted as we move along. We've been meeting at least monthly.
I sure appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Chad, we bought some land in Sequoia County for medicinal purposes about a year ago. Would you check and see if there's been an environmental on that land, and then check to see when we can start the process to be putting that land in trust, if that's going to be there again? Maybe we don't have to now.
Absolutely. Do you know specifically which project?
Yeah, Ginger can get with you on that. Ginger can fill you in on that, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Ginger and I'll make sure we get that handled and get you a copy of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? All right. If you would you give me a call sometime today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I think we have Ginger now on the line if anybody wants to ask her anything.
Yes, I think I took care of my technical difficulties. On that land at Nine Cuts, we have it ready for a resolution to present to the tribal council for fee to trust, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ginger.
Any questions? Bess?
I know that there's a lot of things going on now with the whole McGirt thing and everything that's going to happen with that, and we'll go into that later today. Ginger, are we still, I didn't see it in the reports, reporting back to the solicitor's office that we're not, when these quiet titles come forward and someone's trying to take restricted property, are we still reporting back on those to the solicitor's office?
Yes, of course, we're still under, that is our procedure. Yes, it's still our procedure. That's our standard operating procedure, and we'll continue to do that until a determination is made that we shouldn't.
on those restricted properties, it's my understanding that I think at some point, if there's not an heir to restricted land, Cherokee Nation can deem that property under their possession, correct, or authority over it?
Yes, there's very few times that happens, but for the most part, depending on the history of the land, and a lot of times, well, and sometimes that would happen, yes.
So
It would revert to the tribe.
So ultimately, the Cherokee Nation could be an heir to a restricted property if no one's listed on the deed, or we couldn't find an heir.
Yes, and that's after my staff does its diligent research to determine that. Yes.
Well, would you recommend that there would be some sort of piece of legislation that council could look at that would help form an approach that if we cannot find an heir, since ultimately Cherokee Nation could be an heir, to report that to the solicited officer, so that way we will no longer see any more restricted property basically just be taken?
I can talk to administration about that, but we do have our, once it is determined that there are no heirs, it would be brought to the attention of, in our case, administration, and we would make the BIA aware of that.
Well, I can speak from my position on council that I'm not okay with giving any restricted land away, especially whenever it's being stolen under quiet title. I know that's a method, a legal method, and stolen is kind of a opinionated view, but I think that it would be wise that if there is that opportunity for us to create a legislation that would effectively help you ensure that no more restricted property goes out of possession away from Cherokee Nation, period. We could hold that in restricted status for another citizen that has restricted property, and especially that's a big case of quiet titles, especially since this new SCOTUS decision of our reservational boundary, trying to hold on and intact as much as that land as possible. So if there's ever an opportunity to work together on that, I would be glad to sit down with you. I know you'd like to get feedback from the administration, which is wise, but I definitely think that I'm sure there's probably other counselors who would probably want to look at that too. I know I'm just speaking on behalf of myself, but I definitely think that we could take an approach to keep that from happening again.
Get all the TAMS research completed, and we determined that there are parcels in that once probated down, there are no heirs, then that will really help us. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, that'd be great, because I think that piece of legislation would give you that tool that's needed to just basically report back to the solicitor that there is an heir out there. So, appreciate it. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
All right. Anyone else? Joe?
Hey, Ginger. Hey, real quick, have you noticed all the buildings popping up around Tulsa that are for sale recently since COVID has happened? And if so, are you looking at purchasing those with COVID money, using quarantine and for other things when this is all over?
On a weekly basis, we get called to our attention buildings and parcels of land throughout the 14-county area. And when those do come to our attention, we do research them and, vet them out to see if we would have a use for them. So I guess my answer is yes, if they are coming to our attention.
Okay, so you're not actively on your own looking, you're just waiting for us or somebody to tell you where they're at?
Not necessarily. We do, I guess if you want to call it active, yes, we are actively going out there at all times when we have time. There's so many that come to our attention that it does take a lot of our time to vet those out that come to our attention.
Okay. I was just looking on it as expanding Cherokee Nation with the access to the COVID funds. And I know it's a downturn in the economy, and since we do have those funds to purchase some of those for maybe CMB offices or whatever to get people in centrally located in our jurisdiction as to where they're spread out a lot of different places.
Yes, and Cherokee Nation Property Management is also located with C&D, so I'm sure they do as well.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to have a quick follow-up. Would it be okay if I put you in contact with our legal counsel, just in case we do start, if there's any movement on making a piece of legislation, you can have a contact with him on it?
Oh, sure.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
That's it? Anyone else? How about old business? Any old business? Any new business or announcements?
New business item. There is a new business item.
Okay.
Do you need to introduce it?
Dale, you wanna
Yeah, let me get there.
take it?
This is a resolution authorizing submittal of application to the BIA National Travel Broadband Grant Program for 2020. I put that form in motion. Shelley, sponsor, please.
Can we have Travis Nolan
Same here, Shelley.
speak to this, please?
Sure.
He's right here.
Okay. So this is a broadband grant of a max of $50,000 that the BIA is offering. Our proposal is to use it to evaluate broadband in our rural and remote Cherokee communities. So we've done that based on the 39 Cherokee community buildings. So we'll do a study of the availability of broadband as well as the infrastructure that surrounds those facilities. What that will do is allow us to either expand or look at partnership opportunities with our rural electric cooperatives who have invested heavily in fiber, as well as other internet service providers to expand access to affordable, reliable broadband. So, what do you expect to have from that? So we submitted the grant application on the 15th. In our project plan, we're proposing September to start the process, and it's a year-long grant. But at the same time, we're doing other things related to broadband to keep this stuff moving.
I'm sure there's other areas the counselor knows that. And Darryl, we're talking about an area that we kind of both share, Bellefonte, that area, and Bell. And there's, I wouldn't say no service. When I coached there at the gym, if I stood on a certain tile in that gym, I could get a little bit. But that's a great thing to be researching for sure. So we'll be excited about your findings and getting on the ball.
So what that'll allow us to do is once we have a report back of what's available within these communities, we can kind of prioritize by what communities have better service and kind of steer the focus.
Thank you.
Janice?
I wanted to ask about the educational bandwidth that is opening up. I believe those bids go in, in August. Can you speak to that a little bit and give us an update
Yeah,
about?
so we've been evaluating the 2.5 spectrum travel priority window with the FCC, and we'll make application for our reservation area as well as a portion of the Cherokee outlet. And so we'll look at how that fits in. That's why this grant is pretty important. We want to look at using that spectrum where it's most needed and not using it where it's not needed, because if we have fiber somewhere, we don't necessarily want to do a wireless option.
Right.
So the goal is to do a thorough evaluation, do research, and see how we best use that. But we will make application. The window is slated to close on August 3rd. There's been a push by a lot of tribal organizations and tribes to extend that deadline. Just because as of last week, I think there was 8% of tribal nations have applied so far, which isn't a good success rate for the FCC.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Just real quick, Travis, yeah, there is a little essential sense of urgency with the Bellefonte community area, just because of if something happened with COVID to where everybody had to go online only, and with this $400 tech grant that we're getting them, they're gonna be left behind if we don't try to help them get some kind of service pretty fast. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell.
If I might, I'm going to brag on Travis a little bit. I've worked with Travis for a long time, and he's done a tremendous job on this, and it's really striking the balance across multiple opportunities, applications, and grants, and looking at not only DSL, but fiber and wireless connectivity, and trying to reach those that are least served with technology in our communities. And so we're looking at doing this in a multitude with funding sources and with resources, but with the end goal in mind of Bell and Bellefonte, Kenwood. You can actually sustain a cell phone call and have good internet service for both parents and children in the homes to get access to the resources that they need. So I want to give him some thanks. He deserves it.
Appreciate you, Travis.
I'd like to be added as a sponsor.
All right, that everybody? I think that's a good deal.
Hey,
Yes.
Travis, does this need to go to full council today? Is there any kind of tight timeline?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, please.
Solve that.
Okay. No more business? The next meeting will be Monday, August 10th at 2 p.m.
Did we vote on this?
We need to vote. Let's vote, yeah.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion approved and second. All for it? Aye. Oppose? Yes.
Can I add a quick announcement here at the very end? We talked a little bit about PPE. One of the things I wanted to brief you guys on today is our environmental-based testing. That's where we're going in and monitoring surfaces, and now we are starting to monitor air as well. We've conducted somewhere between 800 and 900 tests so far. Our positive rate is somewhere between 3 and 5%. What it has allowed us to do to make sure that we're cleaning the surfaces properly, and if we find a positive, we're going back. Now, the transmission rate is pretty low on surfaces, and I know that was some concern that was expressed out on social media and other ways. Really what this has allowed us to do is to make sure that we're cleaning properly, and if we're missing anything, we go back and we address that to make sure that we're keeping the spaces as clean as possible. Here is the one anecdotal story I would like to share with you. We had one office, we had a confirmed positive environmental test. I called the executive director in that area and said, you have employees in that space that are positive. Let's get them tested as soon as you possibly can. There were 3 that were assigned to that space. The first 2 went in, conducted their test, both were negative. I was a little disappointed thinking that maybe our testing was not catching what it was supposed to. The 3rd individual went in 2 days later because they were out sick, not related to COVID. He came back and his test was positive. He was asymptomatic, but he was positive. And what that allowed us to do is to have that individual move from that space so they couldn't infect others until we were able to determine if they were positive or negative. And in that case, it actually caught an employee that hadn't shown any symptoms but was carrying the virus with them at that point in time. So I share that with you because I wanted to let you know that that testing that we're doing is actually doing some good, and it's protecting individuals that may not have ever known that they were positive with the virus. So I want to give you guys that feedback and let you know kind of what we were looking at with our testing and so forth. Thank you.
Guess we're done. What time, Keith?
Motion to